6.5 Lab, or the activity for Lesson 5 in Chapter 6, percent of increase or decrease. When you put your name up here, please make sure you put the note. You need to show your work. When I'm grading this, I'm not just looking for the answers, I'm looking for the work. On here, it says work with the partner. You are allowed to do that, but of course in class, if you were here, I'd say not yet, as I go through some of this with everybody. So this, you can read the word problem over here, but this is true. Over here in Oregon and Washington, and all these places over here, Idaho and Montana, there are tons of rivers, and they all have dams on them for whatever types, whether hydroelectric dams or just to help with flooding. And there are salmon that every year go upstream, so they swim up the mountain, up the river, to lay their eggs and hatch their young. Now, that when they go up there, they use fish ladders, and you can look that up online. It's a really neat thing about how they go around some of these dams and things like that. But when they go down the river, that's once they've made it up and spawned, once they've laid their eggs, then the new ones have to go back down. That's what they do, and they have to go through several dams. Now, it says at one time there were electric turbines, so that's a hydroelectric plant, much like we have by Garrison, where the water turns a turbine, turns a thing that causes electricity to be made. So on this Columbia and Snake Rivers, they have found that about 88% of the salmon make it through these turbines unharmed. This is something that could be your job. In class, I might share a little bit longer, but for the video, I'm just going to share briefly that my brother-in-law, so my wife's older brother, is what's called an ichthyologist. He studies fish. He's one of the guys in Alaska that actually sees how many salmon are making it upstream. He's the guy that if you've watched some of those fishing shows, he's the guy that gets to stand out on a boat and say, stop, and makes all the boats stop fishing in order for enough salmon to make it through. And then he gets to fire a kind of like a flare gun, and then the boats just roar back to fishing. And he does that through Game and Fish. So that's something you can do. It can be one of your jobs or a profession. Thus, it says down here, complete the table to show the number of salmon that made it through all the way down through all of the 8 dams. So at the very beginning, there are 1,000 fish. Please, underneath here, write down that 88% of the 1,000 made it. Write that phrase in as we do a couple of these so you can see why and where these numbers are coming from. Since we got 88% of 1,000, let's do that. 88%, need to change it as a decimal. There is no decimal in the percent, so it starts here, go bump, bump, move it twice, you have 0.88 or 0.88 of, means to multiply 1,000. Grab a calculator, multiply that on out, and that gives you the answer 880. So 880 fish made it through unharmed in the turbines. Now they go downstream a little bit and whoop, they run into another hydroelectric dam. And 88% of them make it through. 88% of the 880. Please write that phrase in so you can see where and how and why we're getting these numbers. So then we're going to take 88% of 880. So write it on out, again, switching that percent to a decimal, bump, bump. 0.88 of means to multiply your 880. When you do that, you get 774.4. But for you and I, we're going to disregard this, and we're going to round down. In class, I go on and tell a little bit of a story about why we round down, but in math, there cannot be 0.4 of a fish. Even 0.8 of a fish is not a whole fish. So I just say for this activity, round down. So now you have 774 fish remaining. They go swimming down. Oh, they run into another hydroelectric dam with a turbine where 88% of them make it through. 88% of what? Of the fish. Well, how many fish are there? How many fish are left? Well, 88% of 774 are going to make it through. So again, bump, 0.88 of 774. Multiply those on out. And when you do that, again, remember, do not follow normal rounding rules today. On this one, round down. So 681.12. Well, that's going to go here. And the fish continue on down the stream and run into another hydroelectric dam. Make sure somewhere you are showing me all this work. If you need to go and journey all around, share that in class. If you need to be showing your work along the sides or over here, do so. Because I need to see all that work. I'm not just looking for the numbers. I need to see the work. That's part of the points. Turn the page. Part B says display the data in the bar graph. What data? What data? Well, that's from the previous sign. Display that table in the bar graph. So after 0 hydroelectric dams, we start with 1,000 fish. After 1, 880 are left. So we're going to make a bar graph up to about 880. Now notice we're going up by 200s. So 0, 200, 400, 600, 800, which means halfway in between here, halfway between 800 and 900, 800 and 1,000 is 900. So 880 is just a little bit below 900, so just a little bit below midway. So draw that on. That's 800. If you wanted to color it in, you could, or just leave it. That's your 880. Number 2, we had 774. So again, 700 is in between 600 and 800. But since it's 74, that's about halfway between 700 and 800. So I'm going to estimate it right about here. And if you wanted to color it in, go right ahead. I'm not looking for precision, but on number 3 where it said 681, well, is that 681 right on the line? No. So be very careful. Or again, if you were to accidentally put it down here, is that 681? Nope. So that's going to lose you a point. I'm not going to go, oh, you know what? It really should have been just a pencil width lower than that. I'm not going to be that picky. So make sure you complete that. If you need to make a note to yourself, complete this. Please do. I, in class, tell people to put a star on letter C. They tend to forget that. You need to answer that. That is going to be worth 2 points usually. Maybe some more, maybe some less. We'll continue on. It says work with a partner, and as I say in class, you can, but not yet. We need to finish this out. This could be your job. Perhaps you are an organization. You're part of a company that goes around and predicts how much a city is going to grow or how much a business is going to grow, and you get paid for that. This company says there's going to be a 2% increase each year in this town. That starts with 18,000 people. So when you look at all this, we want to know what's the increase going to be. What is 2% of 18,000? 2%. Move that decimal twice. Don't see the decimal. It starts here. Go bump. Bump, fill in any empty spot, so make sure you have 0.02 times 18,000. That gives you 360 more people. Great. So you need to add that in. Add that into the 18,000. That gives you 18,360. That's how many people are going to be in that town in 2014. Now, they predict a 2% increase. A 2% of what? 2% of 18,360. What is 2% of 18,360? Move that decimal twice. Bump, bump. 0.02 of means to multiply. 18,360. Just like the previous example, this whole packet, we're going to not follow normal rounding rules. So when you see this, there is no half a person. We're not going to do anything like that. You just round down. That's how Mr. Walls says to do it. Listen to your other teacher if they say something else. So that, when you multiply that out, that gives you 367.2. Again, I'm going to drop the decimal to make things easy. But don't put 367 people. There's not just 367 people in that town. That's how many more people came. So you need to take, and you need to show me all this work. You need to add this 367 to that previous year. How many people are there now? 18,667 people. What happens? It's a new year. There is a growth. What growth? A 2% increase. 2% of what? 2% of the previous year's population. So what is 2% of 18,667? Do it again. Go bump, bump. So you've got 0.02 of 18,667. Be very careful as you're typing that into your calculator. You don't want to miss a decimal. You don't want to mix around a number. And remember, you need to show me your work. That gets you the answer. 373.34. Again, truncate, terminate, get rid of those decimals, but do not put 373 here. That's how many more people came to the city. So make sure you add that in. Go ahead and add that to your 18,667, and you are welcome to use mental math or a calculator to get your answer of 19,040 people. Continue that down. Again, if you need more space, by all means, show it here on the side, over on this side, up on the top. I'll be looking for the work, not just the answers. Once you've done that, don't forget this. If you need to put a star here, make sure you graph this. This is worth 5 or more points right here. Now that they've done the first two for us, you and I do the next one, where we had 18,667. Since they're going up by 2,000 each, that means right here in the middle, between 18,000 and 20,000, is 19,000. So we're just a little bit below the middle here in 2015. If you want to color it in, you can. If not, keep on going. Up next, we're at 19,040, so just barely above the middle there. And you make a bar graph and continue to fill in bar graphs once you have this table complete. Now when we turn the page and go to this next part, notice it says Part B. So a different organization. Another company says, nope, we don't think so. We think there's going to be a 3% increase for the next 7 years. So that's a different company stating something different than this. Notice, again, the beginning. In 2013, there was 18,000 people. That came from the beginning part of this. Now, this is a different company. They expect a 3% increase. Well, 3% of what? 3% of 18,000. If you're getting tired of writing that phrase out, you don't have to write it out, but you do need to make sure you know that when you move the decimal twice, bump, bump, you have 0.03 of of means to multiply 18,000. When you do that, that's the work I need to see. This is the most work I need to see. You don't need to write this, but this phrase is where we get these numbers from. That's how we're getting that math. So now we got to type it into our calculator. Be very careful. One mistake right here could mess up everything. You're not going to lose 20 points on it, but we'll be making sure all these numbers are coming out correctly. That, when you put them all together, gives you 540. But do not put 540 here. That's how many more people showed up. So put down plus 540. So that way you can see that this next one, in 2014, there's going to be 18,540 people. Woohoo! Our town grew! Hip, hip, hooray! But now it says, do it again. What happens this year? There's another 3% increase. Hooray! 3% of what? 3% of 18,540 people. Well, what is 3% of 18,540 people? So again, if you want to write out that phrase, you can, or just jump right and show that work. Type it into the calculator very carefully. This is where in class I'd make sure we got 2 or 3 people telling me that the answer is 556.2. So again, make sure you're putting that, not here. That's how many more people showed up. Mr. Wall says, don't follow rounding rules. Just drop that. So then add that on in. Add 556 people to that. So now you've got 19,096. And now more people show up. Hooray! So 3% more. Here we go. Do this again. Make sure you're showing me the work all along the side or wherever you need to make it fit. If you need a separate piece of paper, please do that. Again here, make sure when you're done with this table that you graph it. Same scale as before. Now the numbers are just slightly different because there's a 3% increase. Going up to just a little bit over 19,000 and continue on. If you need to make a note to yourself to finish that, please do. But please, please, please put a star on the letter C. For whatever reason, even though there are 3 questions down here that I want you to answer, somehow people still miss this part C. So don't miss that. And yes, you do need to answer 3 and 4. Make sure your name is on it. When you're done, turn it on in to me.